For the band, I'm the manager, I'm the booking agent, I'm the stylist, I take care of all the finances, and I play drums and handle the percussion.
The band started with Corey and Tyler playing music together, just kind of as a two-piece just in Tyler's basement.
Band started with Corey and me playing, and then we eventually just asked Chris to join us and play at a show at Skylywag Tag, and we played for entire night.
Anyway, that dawn when the sun was coming up over Beachmont Avenue, and we were all loading up the van. It was pretty fun, really exciting. We just liked doing, what we had just done, and the three of us just sort of decided we wanted to be a band, kind of grinning, smiles. It was good. And then he paid us some money. We were like, yeah, we definitely want to be a band. But it wasn't enough to do anything. So.
I would say our music is indie rock. Sometimes I would almost call it post-rock, rock without any lyrics. I would say we sound like a combination of Neil Young and Modest Mouse.
People ask me that question, I always just tell them indie rock, because it's kind of hard to describe. But I tell them a mixture of Neil Young, Explosions in the Sky, and Modest Mouse, probably.
I have not been playing music my whole life. I actually didn't really like music too much growing up until I got into middle school. Actually, I grew up as a skateboarder and an aggressive inline skater, so I listened to a lot of punk music and just weird kind of commercialized stuff directed towards kids at the time in the 90s, learning how to skateboard. And then one day in my parents' basement, or the basement of my parents' house, I found this old, dirty bass guitar. It was a custom bass guitar, and my dad had always played music and he always sang me songs. And my dad had always told me, if you ever decide to play music, pick up the bass, because he wanted a bass player to play with selfishly, and he would always tell me it was hard to find a good bass player. So I found out my dad had gotten this bass from some bar that he played with my uncle sometime, and they needed a bass, and the guy was like, I got a bass in my car, I'll sell it to you for $50. So it had like cigarette burns and it was all natural wood finish. And
as far as my drumming style, I don't know, I'd probably have to look at what I grew up listening. My dad played a lot of classic rock kind of stuff growing up, so what I play is like real simple, straightforward kind of drums.
I started playing guitar when I was about 10 years old and played rhythm guitar for years, and then I actually never played bass until I played for the Never Setting Suns. That was the first time I ever played bass.
We got to a point where we were playing out so much, almost every week, every other week, so we wouldn't really even practice. We would just pick our stuff up and just go play another show, and it would be good. But when we get out of that rhythm of playing every week, every other week, we can tell when we have a bad set, and it's just because we haven't been playing as much.
Our first full-length album that came out is called And Now We're Not Alone. We recorded it at Ultra Suede Studio, which is the old King Records locations where they recorded a lot of like early blues, African American music that nobody else would record them. So like in Cincinnati, it was like one of the first places that would do it. So it's like there's an old like Jimi Hendrix receipt on the wall. There's like it's like Little Richard recorded there, James Brown. So it's kind of like a 70s retro kind of looking studio. It's a really cool place. So yeah, we released it, and I think it's doing very well. It's also on iTunes, Amazon Music. Yeah, it was a pretty fun process.
Future, I don't know. We're trying to write new stuff right now, and going through that whole process again. And it's been a while since we've done that, so we're just doing that right now.
I would say our next step as a band reflects on just our next step as friends. We really don't do this because we want success or we want people to know who we are. We do it because we want to play music, and a lot of people say that but not feel it. And I know Chris just got married and I'm engaged, and that's kind of what we want to do, is we want to establish ourselves and, you know, mature and allow the music to sort of just be what's going on in our lives, not our functional savior, if you will. It's not the only thing we have. It's rather coming out of everything else that we've got. So practically, I think the next step is just making more songs. And I love writing and recording things that don't sound as good as they could, because clearly I am not as good as I should be, and I kind of like my music to have that innate quality in it. And all of the songs that I love are old Modest Mouse albums and Built to Spill, and I loved Up Records and just the feeling of independence, and that before whatever happened in Seattle became significant, it was just a bunch of ragtag people or freaks playing music and recording 7-inch singles that they never thought anyone would ever hear but themselves. And I like that. I think that that is fun and admirable. And when I'm when I'm 40 years old and I've got kids of my own, you know, if I can have kids, then I want to be able to hand them, here's you know how I felt when I was 20 years old. I mean, I could care less if anybody else knows about it. I just want to hand it to them and just the people that are close to me. So recording new things.